So welcome, Francisco Guzman. Thank you so much for participating in this interview. You've been named Father of the Month for the month of April 2020. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's an honor.
The Engaging Fathers Task Force is very happy to have selected you because you represent longevity in fatherhood and the successes and impact that can result of it. So I just wanted to ask you, first tell us a little bit about yourself, your current position, how long you've been married, how long you've been at City Hall. I mean, it's up to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, as you said, my name is Francisco Guzman. I am a practicing Roman Catholic. I am married to my wonderful wife, Elizabeth Guzman. She likes to go by Betty, so people know her as Betty. And actually this year we're celebrating 30 years of marriage. We have our beautiful daughter, Alexia, and my three sons, Francisco, Pablo, and Diego. I currently work at the City of Buffalo under the Byron Brown administration. I am the Deputy Commissioner of Buildings for the City of Buffalo, Department of Public Works. And I've been there going on 23, 24 years with the City of Buffalo. Again, I am honored to have been selected for this interview and to represent this sector of the fatherhood in your program and in your mission.
Thank you. So tell us, now that you've told us how many children you have, tell us a little bit about their ages and their current life stages, starting with your oldest maybe.
Well, my oldest, my princess, and then I say my favorite daughter. And that's kind of the family, my sons are like, yeah, okay, my favorite daughter. So Alexia, she's 24. I want to make sure that I'm right. Hopefully I am. I think I am. She is a college graduate. She graduated from Hilbert College. And prior to that, she graduated from Holy Angels High School, who's no longer has closed since, but she's graduated from Holy Angels. And prior to that, she graduated from her middle school, Catholic Academy of West Buffalo, and is also an alumni of the Buffalo Prep program. That is critical to state because the Buffalo Prep program is part of the academic side of what we instill in our children. So Alexia right now, unfortunately, has been laid off due to the COVID situation, but she's working in a medical doctor's office. So she is with her current employment, kind of on pause, like a lot of New York State residents are. So she's living on her own and is starting to establish herself in her career path. So just go to Francisco. Francisco is my oldest son. Right now, Francisco is in the UK, in England, Leeds University. He is overseas completing his MBA. He's been there since September, and working that through, we've made the decision for him to just stay there. Obviously, with this epidemic, the best thing to do, there's a lot of virtual continuation of education, so why not just stay there and complete his mission of completing his MBA. He's also playing at the university for American football. So he also he got the opportunity to play American football overseas, which has been just been amazing for us and for him. Since he's been playing academic athletics, playing baseball and football since the age of 5. And he's recently been honored with the Player of the Year amongst his colleagues and in that university. So I think that's been a great achievement for him on the athletic side. Academically, he's recently graduated this year with a dual degree from Allegheny College a degree in economics and a degree in computer science. And prior to that, he graduated from the High School of St. Francis, and his middle school was also Catholic Academy of West Buffalo, and an alumni of the Buffalo Prep program, again, to bring the full circle on the academia side. And now my second son, Pablo is a college freshman at Pace University in New York City, my old stomping grounds, New York City. And he is now, obviously because of the pause, here with us back at home. He's probably loving every minute of it, even though he'd rather be in the dorms in New York City, but he's continuing his education. Pablo was an all honor student, graduate from Nichols School. And prior to that, he graduated from the Catholic Academy of West Buffalo and is also a Buffalo Prep alumni. And that leaves my youngest, which is Diego. Diego is a high school freshman. He's a high school freshman at Nichols School. And he is also studying at home, obviously, as many of our students are, excuse me. And he graduated from Catholic Academy and also is an alumni of the Buffalo Prep program. So that's in a nutshell. And my wonderful wife, Betty, she's, again, we're celebrating 30 years of marriage this year, which is, it's just amazing, and kind of a testament to just the family and the love and that we have in our family. So,
wow, it sounds like you've had just tremendous runaway success. Can you tell us how have you been able to guide your children and establish them in their life's direction? I mean, it sounds like I can hear some of the basics, but if you were to point out what were the most important things that you did, what are those things? How did you guide them?
Yes, obviously, it sounds the fruits of the labor, as you mentioned earlier, is great, but it's not all been beds of roses, right? It's a roller coaster. And as I started describing myself as a practicing Roman Catholic, the first and foremost center of our lives, of our marriage, of our family is God. We have a family formula that states God first, family second, academics third, and then everything else falls into place. That is something that I've been instilling in my children from the beginning. So that's been the glue, right? So they understand that no matter what, if that priority gets out of line and one thing overtakes the other, then we kind of, it doesn't work. And I've preached that to them from the beginning, that God comes first. The spiritual, our faith is what carries us through. And then after that, family, you have to take care of the family second, because drawing our strength from God and from our faith helps us work through the things through family. And then academics is the third in the formula, because as I mentioned earlier, Buffalo Prep is a program that has enriched and has welcomed, that I've welcomed into our family, because it really brings together the academic side, where you have to really dedicate yourself and sharpen your academics so that you can continue to succeed in that dimension of your life. So following that formula, we've always, they can tell you, and it's good to hear that, like when I go to my kids, and it's kind of, you say it over and over, and you're practicing, but then when you hear it, when you hear them repeat it, when they're writing papers or they're giving, talks, or they're invited to receive an award or something, and then they will fall back and they say, my papi said this, and I'm like, okay, because when you're in the mix, you're like, is this really working, But then when you hear them say it, and when you hear things coming through, I think that's when you really notice that things are sinking in, things are taking effect, things are working itself through. Because the reality is, it's not a bed of roses. It's not, you know, if anybody tells you that everything is fine and there's no argument and there's no, you know, I want to eat this and you want to eat that. And I'm like, no, you're going to eat what's on the table. And because I know what it is to grow up with there's nothing on the table. But so it comes to fruition when, as they've gotten older, and I've seen it with my own eyes, and people say, you know, your kids are, I'm like, really? Is that my son? But, but at the end of the day, I think that's the formula that I've put together and in effect. So God first, family second, academics third, and then everything falls into place. And I kind of have to check them when I notice that, you know, they may be having a little bit too much of something, and that priority doesn't, it falls out of whack. I have to, you know, check them.
Gotcha. Sounds like you have maintained, you know, a faithful formula all these years, which is good. That's really good. Actually answered my next question, which was going to be around how do you maintain a healthy environment, maybe outside of what you've already talked about. How else do you maintain a healthy environment over the long haul? So if you have those three things in place, how do you keep things, you know, fun and fresh, right? Because I think one of the things that our kids often think of,
Right.
they think of, oh, we have to follow faith, we have to, you know, obey family, you know, love the family and obey mom and dad, and we have to, you know, do our studies. Like that can seem kind of like a prison, and you know, not giving them space to be me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you keep it fun and fresh and still
fun and fresh is, it's again, when I look at faith, right? Faith is not to me a Sunday event. You know, you just don't go to the church or to your place of worship for that specific time, worship, and then continue your life. It's not just an event, it's a way of life. So when they are making decisions, things where I remember an event where I went to Walmart, and my son was with my youngest one. And these are kind of events that we have to practice our faith, put it in action, not on just Sunday, but every day. And one of the things I remember was we were checking out, and then I looked down, and somebody must have like left some, you know, when you're checking out and you ask for extra money,
mm-hmm.
and you either pay the bill and you ask for extra money, so they probably forgot. So as I'm coming up with my son Diego to put our groceries on, we're ready, and he looks down and the money's kind of sticking out, and he pulls it out. And then he's looking at me. He's got these, like, you know, two money in his hand, and he looks at me, and we're looking like, okay. And he's like, we both look at each other, and I'm like, let's just hold it. Let's just calm down. And he thinks that he hit the jackpot. He just found some money. And I said, let's finish what's going on. Because I'm thinking in my mind, if somebody left the money, and momentarily they'll be coming back saying, you know, you'll see the frantic person and coming back saying, hey, you know, does anybody see you? So I'm watching, I'm looking. If the store is crowded, nothing happened. So I turn around, I go to the cashier. She was very rude, unfortunately, and tells me, you have to go take it to the manager. So I'm thinking, I'm holding this cash in my hand, and I'm like, well, if I really give it to this person, is it really going to get to the person that left it? So we're driving, and then my son is saying, what are we going to do with this money? So I turned around, go back to the store to see again if I see someone looking for it. I said, did anybody ask for any money? She tells me no. So I've had this money in my hand, but I still felt that, again, through my actions of what I do, I have him watching me. So as we're driving through, he goes, oh, I went to McDonald's. So I'm like, okay, let's go. I pull over. And this is not, again, it gives me the chills, because it's not something that's, you know, you see this all the time on YouTube or whatever, but there was a family there. And they looked like they were kind of, the mother had like a few kids, and I go to my son. She was ordering, and then she was kind of, you could tell that she was kind of directing their order, because she has a number in her mind, right? Saying, well, you can't have that. And when she said that, I stopped, and I turned around, and I said, I gave I said, Diego, take that money and go give it to the cashier and say, this is to pay for their meal. So he kind of, you could see his chest got up, you know, he straightened up and he turned around. And I'm watching him do it, because obviously people have some kind, you know, some reservations of an adult to an adult comes over with some money. To some people are prideful, and we understand that. But I had him do it, and he gave it to the register and to the cashier at the register and says, this is for them. So that action kind of keeps it moving, right? Like you're saying, how do we really practice? How do you keep it exciting? So that's not only an event for him, but also keeps it moving in his mind, that what we are practicing in faith, we are practicing in our lives. So we kind of, you know, trying to keep it instilling in that way how we put into action what we're living. So, and I could tell you that it's not all humdrum. The kids can tell you sometimes they got to tell me, Papi, sit down, you know, get off of that chair, because when there's something to do, I celebrate, because we have to celebrate each other. If something's funny, and I'm always making jokes, but at the same time I tell them that their mother and me, we have one of the hardest jobs in our lives, because we have to be the disciplinarian and we also have to love them. And that is kind of one of the hardest things that for me. And also, I think one of the hardest things for them to understand, how in one moment I'm disciplining them, and then once we get the point on, I say, all right, give me a hug. And then they're still thinking about, and I'm hugging them and kissing them. And I'm like, but that was that event, that happened. We took care of it. Let's move forward. And he's like, so, but they've grown to know that when they cross the line and whatever it is, the hammer is going to come down. But I'll love them to death from the moment that they're born till now. And sometimes they say in Spanish, they have the saying, go pegajoso. Like, papi es tan pegajoso, because I just want to kiss them. And when they were babies, I used to bite them and eat them. My wife, Betty, used to say, stop, because I just loved them so much that I would kiss them and bite them and hug them. And so I think that we keep it real in the sense that we are in this together. And I tell them that inside our four walls, no one else other than God will love them and support them more than their mother and their father.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So just to wrap up, and tell me because obviously, you know, you've got a good track record for success as a parent, right? As a father, and you've shown that you take the good with the bad. It's not going to be a straight shot, you know, from here to Successville. It's going to be some twists, some turns, some roller coaster riding. So what advice would you give to others, to the young dads starting out? What advice would you give them to achieve the same kind of success?
What advice I would give the young dads would be to understand that actions speak louder than words. Myself, as I grew up with a lot of male models, many male role models in my neighborhood and in my families, of males that I did not want to be, because I saw their actions. So I grew up through that. So to me, someone telling me something and then they would do something else was always a conflict in my mind. So I always grew up with, you know, my uncle says, oh, don't smoke, and he's smoking, or don't do this, and he's doing that. Or, you know, it's your actions speak louder than your words. And so I, again, grew up around many male figures that were doing things that I knew I did not want to be. And again, having my mother in my life was very strong. And so she was the one that kind of instilled, if she said she was going to do something, she did it. So my advice to the young fathers is, you have young eyes, your son, your daughter, they're watching you. How you deal with stress, how you deal with an event, how you deal with anything they're going to do how you do. They're really not going to do what you say, because they're going to remember that. But if you, with the one time or two, or the time you slip and you don't do what you said, they're like, there's really no you kind of throw them for a loop. So living that, I would tell that the fathers, they have to realize that their actions speak louder than words, and to understand that those young eyes are watching them every day and every night. And it's like they say, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. They're learning everything. They are a sponge as they're coming through. Everything that you do, they are going to replicate. And sometimes they will either follow in your footsteps or go ahead on a tangent. And again, whatever faith you practice or they practice, that has to be part of the equation. And as I've learned that in faith, I've learned that it says, have the faith and you continue to bring them up in the faith. But if you don't practice, how you expect them to practice? And you want to allow them to grow in that faith. And even it says that in the event that they may steer away, they still have a foundation to come to. So that foundation that you're building with your children is very, very critical. And I think that, because I was thinking about that, what would I say to a young father is, you may have done, and no one's perfect. This success is not a destination. We've heard it's a journey. Enjoy the journey, enjoy the process, enjoy the here and now, because what you do now dictates what happens in the future. So you're investing, I'm investing, Betty's investing in our children, so that when I always remember that it's not the material things that you leave, even though we all know, money is essential part of life. But at the end of the day, as I'm growing older and see different experiences, that it's not what you leave your children, but what you leave inside your children that's important. So if you're looking to say, I'm going to leave them a house, I'm going to leave them money, I'm going to leave, all that is great and dandy. But if they don't know how to manage themselves, they don't know how to manage their emotions, they don't know how to manage their faith, all the materialistic things that you leave to them is for naught, because they can just, if they're not strong within their spirit, within how to deal with stress, how do I deal with this situation, that situation. So to me, it's more important that I can say how my children are is more important to me than who my children are, if that makes sense. It's not so much, who you're going to be when you grow up, but what are you going to be when you grow up? So I said it in reverse. I meant to say, yeah, I think so. Whatever. What I meant to say is, it's not so much, what do you want to be? This is the question that says, and a lot of the academia say, all right, so some people are working to get a job. It's like, I tell my children, you have the rest of your life to work. That's not at least my children's, that's not part of our upbringing. They are sharpening their skills academically, spiritually, emotionally, so that in the future, it comes to a point where it's not, what do you want to be when you grow up? Because if you want to become a doctor and the essence inside of you, you're nasty, you're egotistical, you're mean, and you go and become a doctor, now you just became a mean, egotistical, bad doctor. So what does that really mean? So it's more of the person that you're building. I tell them I'm building spiritual warriors within each and every one of them. I'm building up kings. I'm building up my queen, so that when I'm not here for them on this heaven, and I'm in heaven and I'm not on this earth, that I know that I've done my job.
Great answer. Great answer. Thank you for that.